Hello guys, it's Bok. Hope you're all having a great day. So I said to you guys that I was going to do a draft class with some RTA guides and finally bringing that to you. We're going to go all the way from Unranked to Mythic. This is primarily going to be bruiser focused because I'm a primarily bruiser player. However, there will be some stuff that you can take away if you're a CC player or a cleave player. Depending how this goes down and whether you guys like it or not, I might ask some high-ranking CC players or high-ranking cleave players if they can come in and we can do like a specific episode on that as well. So let's get into our itinerary with Professor Bok. So this is kind of what I've drafted out for what we're going to do. There's going to be specific episodes for each thing. Some might be shorter, so I might put 2 into one episode, but I thought that this would be a good way of doing it so that when I put it into a playlist, if there's something that you want to come back to just to look at one specific thing, then you can look at that. I'm not going to run through everything here, you can read it. But the first lesson we're going to kick off with is RTA basics and then going from unranked up to diamond. So, basics in RTA. You are going to lose. Do not worry about it. Do not tilt. There's so many different things that can happen in this game that can cause you to lose. It could be you just don't have certain units built. You lose to RNG, pick a Rahu, he just never follows up. Now, don't stress about it. If it's getting to the point where you're playing the game and you're stressing too much or you're finding it frustrating, take a break. Don't overstretch yourself. So what I mean by that is don't go into RTA and try and play all 3 playstyles straight away. That's not a good way to learn how to play RTA. The best way, in my opinion, and a way that will help you consistently climb, is to pick one playstyle as your main focus with having 2 or 3 different examples where you could pivot into something else. So a good example of that would be by playing bruiser. There's a very clear and obvious way to pivot in towards CC. So bruiser would be your main playstyle and CC would be kind of your pivot. So you're mainly playing one playstyle, but you have a little bit of another playstyle. For cleave and CC, those 2 go hand in hand, they work perfectly together. It's a lot harder to do bruiser and cleave in the same kind of playstyle. It's a lot harder to draft with. Diversify your unit builds and experiment. So I'll go into this one in a bit more detail in a second or later on, because I have some specific examples that I want to go through, specifically with your healers, that will make drafting a lot easier and just playing the game a lot easier, especially before you have pre-bans. So information gathering, super important one, and it will become more important the higher you go in RTA. The reason for that, the earlier you can identify what your opponent is going for and what type of draft they're going for, whether it's CC, cleave, or bruiser, and what kind of their win conditions are, and equally what your weaknesses are in your draft, will help you climb so much more consistently. And this is something I can help you with, but it's something that you're mainly going to come from experience. And last one, probably the most important, have fun. It's a game. There's no point doing this if you're not having fun. So let's kick off with the unranked to diamond. So where RTA is quite a lot different before you hit diamond is the draft. And the reason for that, you don't have a pre-ban and you don't have a locked pick. So your draft needs to function regardless of what is banned. So this means that in bruiser drafts, if you're trying to draft in a comp that only has, say, one damage threat in Tiamat and you're trying to pair with Lily, well, if the opponent just bans your Tiamat, you're kind of stuck. Or let's say, for example, you take all the damage bruisers and you only take one healer. Well, they just ban your healer, and now you've got no way to either cleanse CC or heal. So drafting in Unranked to Diamond, I think there's a very simple and effective way that could help you guys climb consistently. And that is to just go for something like 2 supportive units. So that could be 2 healers, potentially a Lily, 2 damage dealers, and then you have 1 flex spot. I have some builds and some potential scenarios I can run through after this, so we'll go into that one in a little bit more detail in a second. So reacting to your opponent. So this is what I was talking about slightly earlier on, where I was saying identifying what your opponent is doing and what type of draft they're going for will help you react and draft accordingly. So a good example that you'll see a lot in RTA is Plume. So if Plume goes first pick and you see that the Plume is on something like Rev, then you can already assume that your opponent isn't going to be playing turn 2. It's either going to be a CC or a cleave player in the vast majority of cases. Now, there's other examples of that, like they take a Ray Marie and you see a Ray Marie on Amber. Now, this one's slightly more difficult, but if the Ray Marie was on Tiger Yin, then you know they're going for a more aggressive style draft, which leans towards cleave, potentially CC. So this one just kind of comes with practice, but there is some things that you can start doing straight away. Forcing bans. So when you're getting the last pick, it gives you an opportunity to counter their draft or to counter the main purpose of their draft or their win condition. So by picking something that forces them to ban it. So let's say, for example, you're playing against someone who has drafted 3 bruisers and no form of cleanse. They've taken a red Chiaki as their healer. Then by picking CC, if they don't ban the CC, you should just win the game 9 times out of 10. They might get a lucky resist and you might lose. But if they don't ban it, they're kind of coin flipping the game on being able to resist that CC. So forcing bans is super important, especially as you go higher in the ranks. So it's something to get used to early on, just to help you guys out. Learning from losses. So like I say, you are going to lose. It happens. Just try and learn from that loss. So was it something I picked that was potentially wrong in this spot? Was it something that my opponent picked that I didn't know you could do? Or was it a strange build? Or was it just RNG? Sometimes it will be, sometimes it can be a combination of them. But just learning from those losses is sometimes more valuable than just winning every game by picking the same draft over and over. Because eventually you will hit a wall where if you don't start to learn from those losses, you're not going to progress any further. So target prioritization. So this is important in 2 different places. So you need to have kind of a plan going in before the game starts of who you want to prioritize and what your kind of first turns should look like. So the reason I'm saying that is because if you don't have a plan and you go in, some people might get decision paralysis in terms of like, you only have 30 seconds to make these decisions, and sometimes it can be pretty challenging when you're first starting out. So always having this kind of, I need to stop this person from doing X. Let's say, for example, you have a Holden and they have a CC unit. Then your target should be to try and S2 that Holden, S2 that CC unit, so that you can stop them from doing the CC. Just a simple example, but again, this is something that comes just by playing, and you'll learn as you go. So, and the last one, before I start to go into specific drafts, specific units, and go through a bit more detail, is win conditions for you and your opponent. When you're getting towards the end of a draft, and this can even help you during draft to pick certain units or to deny certain units, what is going to cause you on your opponent's team to lose the game? And what is your win condition for beating your opponent? So the reason this is so important is because you can already identify what is your opponent going to ban if you identify something that counters their comp. And equally, you can identify something that can make you lose. So again, I go back to the example where we've drafted a comp and we have no form of cleansing. If your opponent picks CC, then we have to ban it because we don't have a way to deal with it, potentially. Or we've picked a single damage threat comp and the opponent can just ban it because now you have no damage and they're going to win the game. It might take them a little while if you've got so many healers, but that's where identifying your win conditions and their win conditions helps you both with your target prioritization and who you should pick and draft. Okay, so now I'm going to go into, I've built out a little bit of what I think a box should look like for climbing to diamond and probably beyond. And I think the way that I've built it is pretty generous because most of the units are units that I think at this point everybody should have, and most people have lattice to some extent for some PvE content. So we'll switch over to that now and I'll go through it. Okay, so here we have 3 LD units. We have Plume, we have Lily, and we have Lilum. Now I assume everybody has these built, or everybody has them, because Plume and Lilum have both had rerun banners, and Lily everybody probably selected during the LD selector. In terms of healers, we have 4 healers. This isn't actually Shadow Sanya, it's just that this tool doesn't actually have Sylph, so Shadow Sanya is Sylph for this example. So we have a free healer that everybody should have, and then we have 3 SR healers. So the vast majority of players are going to have these and have probably built out at least 2 of them to use in PvE. Next we have 3 bruisers. So these are kind of the standard bruisers. Tiamat, Rahu, and Holden. 2 of these, so Tiamat and Rahu, are pretty lattice friendly. You can get away with using them with very minimal investment. Holden needs a bit more, but these are the 3 kind of core bruisers. So good for starting out. Obviously this is just an example, so if you have like a Raymarie or something like that, then by all means use them. counter picks. So we've got 3 counter picks in here. I'm assuming most people have built out their Viper for some PvE content, and Viper can be super useful into potentially Lilim comps or Kakardi comps if you come across any Kakardi. So anything that's really attack scaling. He's also useful to have another strip, because at the moment we only have 3 forms of strip in this 4. I forgot about Obo. But in this box we've now got 4 forms of strip, so always useful to have as a last pick. Mizuki is probably going to be one of your primary counters early on to Tiamat. There is better counters when you've built out more units, but early on, Mizuki's a pretty solid counter, and also because she's an SR unit, just easier to use. So Red Rin's pretty good into your cleave style comp. She can also work in some turn 2 drafts, specifically against things like Born or Kakardi, because having that taunt as well as the big shield and defense up can also pair well with your Holden, because you've got another source of giving him defense up. And then I've put 2 CC units, although you can replace these with any CC units that you've built, or potentially even a 1/1/1 Nahor. I've just put these 2 because I assume that most people have built them for some PvE content. So I assume most people have built Kaz for Doki Doki, and I assume some people have built Obal for either Shadow Flame Hoyan farming, or for some Ember Trek stuff. Okay, so when I was saying earlier that we need to draft in terms of having 2 damage dealers, 2 supports, and then 1 flex spot. So with this specific box in mind, I would say if your first pick, you should always prioritize taking Plume. So she's going to fill the role in this example as your flex spot, because she's a pseudo damage dealer. By ramping all of your damage of your other units, she boosts your turns, so you take more turns, and as I've said in quite a few of my videos before and on stream, the more turns you take as a bruiser, the higher chance you're going to win the game. And she has strip, which is super valuable into both turn 2 and some CC comps at the moment, even into Messiah, because you can strip the Messiah's invincibility and potentially kill him after the first S3. So super good unit to be able to take. Now, you're going to come across 2 different things that can potentially hurt you in low or as you're starting out your RTA journey, and that is either opponents picking units that you don't have built, or potentially even worse, opponents picking units that you do have built, because then it's not only taking away units that you can pick, but it's just limiting your overall choices. Okay, so let's say in this example, the opponent does have Raymarie built, so they're going to put in the Raymarie, and then they also have, let's say, they're going to steal your Lily. So this type of draft, straight away, you would need to look at what the shells are on the units. So if Raymarie's on Amber, but the Lily's on something like Codex, now this tells you that it could be a fast Lily and they're going for either CC or they're going for Cleave. Because in all likelihood, when you're looking at turn 2 players or bruiser players, they tend to run Amber or even potentially something like Gigabyte on their Lily. So straight away, you've got some information there. Now, I should have touched on this a bit earlier, but I'm going to go down into the healer section and I'm going to talk about the healers for a second. So the reason I've put these 4 healers here is 3 are SR, 1's SSR. However, you can build these 4 healers to be able to be an answer to majority of things. So Sylph, you want to build as your primary anti-CC healer. So you can do that by putting her on something like Alicorn and running her on Strive. with Bloodbath and trying to just get her as fast as you can with a mixture of, or majority effect res with some HP. Because you don't want her so squishy that she just dies, and you also potentially want to have her as an option in turn 2. So she's your primary CC healer. Red Chiaki you want to put on Lighthouse and with Strive, and you want her to be your primary cleave healer. Now the reason for the Lighthouse and the Strive on Red Chiaki is because if your opponent picks something like a Messiah and you want to let it through, then after the first S3, she should be able to cut ahead of the Messiah, do her S3, and put a big heal on all your team, as well as putting her Origami, which gives you damage reduction, which then means if there's another Messiah S3 coming, you're going to take reduced damage. So Sanya you want to build on full HP, and she's going to be your primary bruiser versus bruiser healer. Now the reason for that, you can build her on something like Jackal or Gigabyte, and she's just going to be super tanky and provide a lot of healing to your team, as well as some cleansing, not a lot, but some. And she gives you a bit of a safety net on being able to revive something. Now, this is countered by Ray, because obviously if she terminates something, then you can't revive it. But she's going to be your primary function there in the bruiser matchup. And Ling Luo. So Ling Luo is going to kind of be your jack of all trades healer. So I would say that we have a high priority on Ling Luo with these units. Now, I think you want to build her, you can build her potentially 2 ways. There is more ways to build her, and do experiment and see what you like. But my preferred way to run her at the moment is Gigabyte with Bulwark. And the reason for that, I just don't want her being CC'd. I potentially also want the option to just S2 turn 1 and extend the immunity. Because you can have like 3-4 turns of immunity on Ling Luo, which in the course of a game is fantastic. So you want to build her on a mixture of HP and res so that you can potentially take her into CC, you can take her into the bruisers, and you can maybe take her into cleave. Although I would say the primary 2 healers for pure cleave would be Red Chiaki and Sanya. Okay, so like I said, we need to take a healer. So we're going to take the Ling Luo here, and then because this still has the potential to be either cleave or CC, we want to take the Tiamat. Now the reason for that is both of these units are defense scaling, and Tiamat being HP scaling just gives us more survivability. She also has the damage sharing, which means that your other units are going to take slightly less damage. So she's probably the best bruiser into cleave at the moment. It's between her, Raymarie, and Born, purely just because of their HP pools. So we've got a pretty well-rounded draft at the moment. We have 1 healer, 1 damage dealer, and 1 kind of flex spot who's giving us our turn push, as well as providing some additional damage and some debuffs. So this is where you get the vast majority of information of what the draft is going to, or how the draft is going to play out. So let's say in this example, it is a cleave player, or let's say it's a CC player. In fact, cleave's probably easier to do because I'm already there. So they then take the Messiah, and then they're going to take the Tsukiyomi, wherever Tsukiyomi is. Oh geez, I'm blind. Where is she? Okay, I can't find her. I'm so blind. There's probably someone just like shouting at the screen right now, like she's there, but I can't see her. So, rip, where Nell is now Tsukiyomi. Okay, so they have a Tsukiyomi. So now you know that they're going towards cleave. So there is something that you need to keep in the back of your mind, and that is that they could potentially pick a CC unit as their last unit. Now, the reason they would maybe do that is to try to force you to ban it if you don't have a way to answer the CC. Okay? So we already do have one way to answer CC, but we're going to take our primary healer into cleave, and now we have two options. We can either go for something in terms of another HP scaler, which we don't have. So if you had something like a Born, then fire him in, but we don't have that here. So we're actually going to opt for the Viper. Now, why are we opting for the Viper? The reason we're opting for the Viper here is because if we look at just banning the Messiah, then the damage reduction we're going to get from the Viper into the Ray in terms of lowering her crits, we're going to have damage reduction from the red Chiaki's Origami, and then we're going to have damage ramp from the Plume, as well as being able to slow their whole team down with Viper. So Viper actually has a lot of value here. Now, if, say for example, they take a CC unit, then we are probably forced to ban the CC unit. So let's say they take a Mio. Okay? If they take a Mio, then the odds are they're looking to ban the Ling Luo. And the reason for that is if they take the CC unit and they want to ban the Ling Luo, then that means that, if they take a CC unit, it tells us that they're potentially looking to ban the Ling Luo, because that is our only way to deal with CC at the moment. Okay? So it would force us to ban the Mio. Now, if they instead go for something like a Beyonton, that tells us they're probably either going to ban the Tiamat or the Chiaki, because they've fully indexed into cleave. Now, that tells us they're probably either going to ban the Tiamat, in most cases it'll be the Tiamat, or the red Chiaki. Some people will ban the red Chiaki, but most will ban the Tiamat. So what you would probably want to do in this scenario is you'll remove the Messiah, because we can survive through the Ray S3. It does nowhere near as much damage initially as the Messiah, and then even if they remove the Tiamat, we should be able to heal and deal enough damage with just the Viper and the Plume to be able to get through all of this. So being able to get the damage ramp from the Plume with the Viper while having this sustain will be enough to kill this. The silence will also come in clutch from the Viper, but this is just an example of how the drafts can go. Okay, so let's go through another example. Let me just chuck everything back and we'll run through another quick example for you guys. In fact, I'm just going to leave Messiah up here and put these guys over here. Okay, so let's say, for example, this time your opponent is first pick and they are opening with... Everybody seems to have Ray Marie at the moment, so let's say they take the Ray Marie again. Okay, so this gives you a couple of options, but our best option's always going to be the Plume as first. But if you want to, you could go something like Tiamat and Holden or Tiamat and Rahu, because you're already taking away 2 of the bruisers from the pool. However, I would say this leaves you potentially susceptible to CC. And the reason for that, if you go for something like this on 1 and 2, and then your opponent does something like this and takes the Ling Luo with the Sylph, it doesn't look great, but you now have no real way to deal with CC. So then, if they had something like a Lilith and potentially something like a Lilum, or anything of that kind of nature, then you're already on the back foot because you don't have a way to cleanse. So you're forced to ban one of the CC, which then means Raymarie is just kind of getting a free game. So that's where I think it's important to not go for 2 bruisers straight away and to instead go for something a bit more flexible. So, like I said, I would always take the Plume first in this scenario, because if they are a CC player, it's also a takeaway from them. It's a takeaway from Cleave, and it's good into majority of bruiser comps. Now, because again, we don't know where they're going, Tiamat would be your best option here. Because good into Cleave, average into CC, and good in the bruiser matchup. So, pretty safe first 1 and 2. Okay, so next they're going to take the Rahu, because the Rahu is good into Tiamat. It's also a takeaway from you. And then they're going to take the Sanya. The Sanya just as a way to do healing, which is pretty good when paired with defense scalers, because her healing isn't based on HP percentage, it's based on her HP. So does really well with Rahu. Okay, so what does this tell us? It tells us they're playing turn 2. Now, if we take the Ling Luo, and then we take the Holden, our draft's looking pretty good. We have the Holden into both the Sanya and the Rahu, which gives us the option of resetting. We have 2 forms of strip into the Rahu, which means we could remove the defense buff, and we also have 2 forms of defense break into Rahu. And they don't have a very consistent way of cleansing. Sanya will cleanse 1 debuff, but at the moment we have multiple debuffs that can be applied. Okay, so after this, the opponent decides to go for something like Mizuki to counter the Tiamat, and then they also take, what else do they take? Let's say, for example, they take a Lily. Okay? Now, this is a very aggressive draft, which is looking pretty scary towards our draft, especially if you remove the Holden, because then they have 2 green damage dealers against Tiamat, one of which inflicts wind. So they'd be able to kill our Tiamat pretty quickly. But what is their comp weak to? So their comp, at the moment, is pretty weak to CC. They also, if you remove the Sanya, don't have any form of healing. We are the same at the moment, but this is where last pick comes in super important. So you can try and force a ban here. And the way that you can try and force a ban is you can pick something that's CC. So by taking something like Obol, Nahor would be even better here, but by taking something like Obol, you either force them to ban the Obol, or your comp is just going to be able to kill them and CC them. Because the Mizuki, the Rahu, and the Raymarie probably won't be fast enough to get pulled up by your Lily. And by them taking the Holden, the Rahu, the Mizuki, and the Ray, you're pretty certain they're not going to ban your Tiamat, because they've taken multiple counters to your Tiamat. They're probably either going to ban the Holden or the Obol. If they don't ban the Obol, you just win the game. However, if they do ban your Obol here, you're pretty comfortable with this comp. But what do you want to ban? So, I think there's 2 options to ban. You can either ban the Raymarie and then play into this comp, which I think you're favoured in because you have multiple forms of defense break. You have a good healer that can also provide immunity and cleansing, so you can remove the debuffs that they put on. However, the other option is to just ban the Sanya. I don't think this is as good because if the Ray Marie decides to do Ray Marie things, she could just pop your whole team. However, if you're able to keep the Ray Marie under control with the Holden S2, then you have a healer and they don't. So if the game goes on for long enough, which with Ray Marie in the game is a scary chance to take, but it is an option and it can work. I just think it's the less safe of two options. Just by banning the Ray Marie, your comp still beats this 9 times out of 10. So what would your target prioritization be here? That would be the main thing I would like you guys to try and understand and learn. So there's a couple of options. At the start, S2ing the Rahu is okay. S2ing the Mizuki, again, is okay. The reason I'm saying that is because both of these grant a defense buff. So by S2ing them, you're really just getting rid of damage. You're getting rid of a couple of Rahu stacks. But is that the greatest thing in the world? Probably not. You have a couple of ways to strip, so you're going to be able to get rid of the defense buff more or less as soon as they put it on. So it's not the end of the world. Now, you could S2 the Lily and stop her from resetting anything with her S3. Or you could hold your S2 for the Sanya and stop her from using her S3 or potentially reviving someone after you get the kill. So I think that what would be best here is if we assume they go first, Lily is going to pair up with Mizuki because that's the best option for them, or pair up with Sanya. If they're trying to survive, they'll pair up with Sanya. If they're playing more aggressive, they'll pair up with Mizuki. They should never really pair up with Rahu, and the reason for that is if they S1 with the Sanya and they're paired up with Rahu, Rahu's always going to follow up. But if you S1 and you're paired up with anybody else, then you'll get the damage from that other pairing, and there's always the chance that Rahu follows up as well. So you could have something like Lily S1 paired up with Mizuki, Mizuki then hits Tiamat, and Rahu hits Tiamat, which could do a lot of damage in one turn. Okay? So if they S3 off the start, or sorry, let me go back. When the Lily pairs up with the Mizuki, and then Mizuki S3s, you can then plume strip to remove the defense buff that they've just put up. I would assume in this turn order that then Sanya would go next. Sanya will then be able to heal and will remove 2 debuffs. So the debuffs, and this is where your target prioritization is important. So if you target the Lily, then if you're running your plume on Jackal, the Lily's always going to get healed, which means that her healing, the healing from Sanya, is only going to trigger, or the cleansing is only going to trigger on one other unit. So odds are that you stick the defense buff or the defense break on at least, well, you will stick defense break on 2 of these. Now, after that, if you send the S3 on Holden and then followed up by a potential S1 on the lowest of the 2 defensive scaling units, you can potentially just kill them straight away if you're lucky with crits. The safer option though would be to just S2 one of them back so that they don't take a turn. Now you could also S2 back the Lily because you're not wanting them to cycle as fast. So there is some options. But here you 100% want to press your S3 on Ling Luo because you want to get your immunity up. It also has a decent chance of transforming your Tiamat because she's already going to be hit by the S3 from the Mizuki, which will put her at like 2 to 3 stacks. By then getting the S3 off on Ling Luo, she'll be around 6 stacks. So if you hit someone with the S1, like the Mizuki, then they counter, your Tiamat will transform and you'll probably be able to kill them straight away. Because you've already landed defense break, you've already stripped with the Holden, and you've now hit them twice. So you can potentially kill them before they can take a turn. And this is where I was saying holding the S2 on your Holden can be pretty valuable, because now you can just S2 back the Sanya and stop her from rezzing. And then your priority would either be to get down the Sanya, or to just continue to focus the Rahu if you get lucky with Brambles when he S3s. Okay, so I think this should give you guys a bit of an example on how to draft, and I don't know if I've just waffled. I may have. Now, I'll try and get better at this. This is my first time doing something like this, so I hope it wasn't too bad. I would appreciate any kind of feedback in the comments, or if anybody has any questions, then I'm more than happy to answer in the comments. But until next time, guys, I will catch you in a bit.